and welcome to Biz Files. I'm Rosanne DeTorres, and I am the host of Biz Files. Biz Files is the talk show for business owners by business owners, where you'll get tips and insights from successful entrepreneurs who reveal their secrets to success and the pitfalls to avoid. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out in business, Biz Files offers business owners proven strategies for starting and scaling your business. Learn to think like an entrepreneur with Biz Files. Please check out my website, bizfiles.tv, for information about future editions of Biz Files and resources for entrepreneurs. Joining us today is Marce Zuchovicki. Marce is an experienced business owner with clients ranging from Fortune 2000 companies, government institutions, to startups over the past 25 years. She brings a deep knowledge of both qualitative and quantitative methods to her strategy work and CFO bookkeeping practices. She helps clients grasp opportunities for growth by developing business strategies and internal processes necessary to address these opportunities. She's worked for global companies such as UNICEF, National Institute for the Indians in Mexico, IBM, and several leading universities and museums in Mexico, Europe, and the US. Marce has been an instructor for the past 8 years for the Rutgers University Entrepreneurs Pioneers Initiative program and is also a business coach. Her company, Jalima, advises USA and foreign large companies interested in continuous improvements and efficiencies, as well as providing CFO bookkeeping services to small businesses and not-for-profits. I'm going to leave off all of the 42 awards that you won. Thank you so much, Marce, for being with me today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
See you again. So let's just dive right in, shall we? Tell me, how did you start your business, Jalima?
So Jalima, it's actually the brainchild of a previous business that we had. In the year 2004, I was at a crossroads in my life, and two dear friends from childhood that were also professionals, and we were passionate about coffee, decided to start a coffee company. We hired an executive coach. You do? We hired an executive coach, and we went to the mountains of Mexico to source coffee and try to do a social entrepreneurship business to help farmers become sustainable. And our aim was to stop illegal immigration, so we would be able to have all those farmers that were abandoning their lands in Mexico stay in their lands, be very successful, and bring great coffee from Mexico to the U.S. However, as successful as we started, in 6 months we were at Zabor's in New York, at Whole Foods, at Richard's in Florida.
Wow.
We were in so many stores. As fast as we went in, we went out. And we couldn't make the business be sustainable, even though we were using all the best practices that business have. So very slowly and surely, my business partners disappeared, and I stayed with the company, not knowing what to do. So I had to support myself. I actually was completely broke and needed to support myself. And as an education, I'm an actuary. So my parents always told me that my best inheritance was to have the best possible education I can have. And being an actuary gives you a lot of resources and processes to think. So basically what happened, to support myself, I started to freelance as a bookkeeper in the food industry because I was doing coffee and couldn't support myself. So one of my clients asked me if I would take up a program at Rutgers University, which was called it's still in existence. Actually, this year it stands the Entrepreneurship Pioneers Initiative at Rutgers University. And I took this program to help my client, but in the middle of the program, the client said, "Why don't you use this program for the coffee business?" And little did I know that my coffee business was not sustainable, because even though I have done all the R&D, research and development, and everything that you can possibly do, I didn't consider which I did know that coffee is a commodity, but I have used a model that was trying to compete with the commodity business. And obviously, I didn't do well with that.
Yeah.
But I found out that I had a sustainable business because as I was growing the business, I had to hire people, and I had to be able to get for my clients in bookkeeping other people to participate. So to make a very long story short, because it's a long journey, I ended up going to India. I built an infrastructure in India to do bookkeeping online from the cloud, which at the very beginning was very hard to sustain because I'm an American, but I'm very patriotic. And people at the beginning were saying, but you're taking away business from the US. And it took me a while for people to understand that the bookkeeping part of it, that it's very expensive. I could do it for 1 cent compared to $1 and make it very inexpensive so people could do their bookkeeping and their financial systems in a very sustainable way and grow their business in the US in a very profitable way. So the business kept growing and growing and growing. And as the years went by, I kept utilizing other resources that I have learned in my professional careers that I have had. And it grew to now have also an HR module, which is strategic planning and strategic management, and a talent collaboration tool that we use to help businesses become more proficient. So that was a very short question you asked and a very long answer.
But I'm curious about your comment about you went to India and you started doing bookkeeping in the cloud. That must have been a very avant-garde process at the time.
Yeah. It seems that most of my life I've always been an outlier. I start processes and I have vision of things that eventually become mainstream. But when I started, it was very hard to penetrate the entire market in the U.S. Because people were very antsy about it.
Right. So Jalima actually started out as a coffee company.
Yes, it started. Actually, I'll tell you something that people can probably get a kick out of it, which is Jalima was the first 3 names of the business partners, Janet, Libe, and Marcela. Marce. So that's how the name Jalima came to existence. And as our strategic management processes started to grow in addition to bookkeeping and CFO practices, I started to hire consultants to help me build different engagements that I had with like Genesis Healthcare, different organizations, larger corporations. So I would teach my processes and programs that I created. And then the consultants, the following year, I found out that they were doing the same thing for other health systems and making it their own. So I decided that branding was very important. And as I'm always into using processes as Kaizen, continuous improvement, Six Sigma, processes that gets you very organized, I decided that the name Jalima needed to be co-branded differently. And it became a model that now means justify, align, leverage, innovate, master, and act. And I teach the Jalima circle and how to do efficiencies so people can be very, very organized in being successful at what they do.
Wow, that's fantastic. How many on your team now?
So I started all by myself. And actually, it's interesting that you're asking because on last week we had a staff meeting and I needed a count. So for the bookkeeping services, we're up to 70. And for the HR services, we're up to a little bit under 800. So altogether, we're like around 830 employees.
And how many on your leadership?
On the leadership team, we're around 25.
Wonderful. Now, before you got started in coffee business, what were you doing with your life?
So my life, that's a very loaded question because my mother was a survivor of the Holocaust. So she instilled in me goodness and trying to have a better world. So since I was a very little girl, even when I was in senior high school, I was going to different underdeveloped villages to help underdeveloped cultures to learn arithmetic, which I've always been very good in with math, and how to read and write, and help marginal areas to be sustainable. And I did, while in college, I did all kinds of social work where I would go to the Mayan cultures and teach them how to do water purification. So my social entrepreneurship life ended up in a way that I ended up working for UNICEF. And I did many projects with UNICEF. And I was married for 10 years. I'm divorced now, but was married 10 years. And my former husband was a musician. So to help him with his music career, I started an arts management company. So while we lived in Europe, I was very fortunate that the former USSR opened its borders, and there were all these people that did not know how to be entrepreneurial and how to be in business. So in those days, just with a fax machine and a phone, I became the arts manager of close to 200 people at the end. So it was a very thriving business while in Europe.
When so your team is like you're approaching 1,000 people, really, in your organizations. What are the keys to your success? What do you think has held the key to your success?
I think that I value very much what's EQ, emotional intelligence. And for me to have a culture, no matter who you are in your company, that you nurture every single employee, and everybody is a team member and you are part of for the greater good, and trust and building ethics and best practices makes us very successful. I'm always asking every year for everybody to take different exams that we internally need to certify, and want to make sure that everybody is up to date with everything that happens in society, in the business world, so we can always be rounded employees for the company. And as you heard me, I considered myself an employee for the company. So the company is our boss.
Not you. Right.
Correct.
So when you were growing your company and it was just a few of you, how did you get the right people with the culture, that the fit? How do you decide who those people are?
So I have to tell you, not all the time I had successes. At the very beginning, I tried to hire people here in the United States to do the bookkeeping services. And that was very hard because when graduates are starting their careers, they want to make a very high income with very little knowledge. And that was like not a match for trying to have a business that was helping small business grow their business by doing their bookkeeping. So I had several failures, to tell you the truth, to be able to learn how to be successful. But what I found in India is that people are extremely educated, and they're willing to learn and work for very little and grow. So as the company has been growing, it has been nurturing each employee. And nowadays, we do strategic retreats. We send them to hotels where they can have like collaboration workshops and learn about the difference in cultures between India and the US or other countries we may be working with. So I would say that to be very successful, sometimes you have to fail a little bit so you can learn.
I think you're right about that. So because you don't know what you don't know. Right. So failure is actually a great opportunity to learn and to grow and to overcome challenges. So that's a great segue. Tell me about the greatest challenges facing your organization right now.
I would say that our client acquisition is very small because what happens is people that start working with us, that become our clients, they have to give us access to their banking, to their financials, to the good, to the bad, to the ugly, to everything that possibly is available. And to build that trust, it takes time.
Yeah.
And you cannot do it when you're a company from the cloud. So I balance that challenge that I have by becoming doing what I like the most, to help others, and doing a lot of volunteer work in the community. And probably that's why I've gotten so many awards. It's because I do so much. So I leverage my knowledge and how much I enjoy giving for people to get to know each other.
So going back to your selection of employees, how do you handle it when you need to let somebody go?
That's a very interesting question. Do you know that we hardly have people that have gone from our from our HR matrix, because we give so much incentives, and people become like stakeholders in our company, that our retention is like 99%, which is very interesting how we do it. And one of the tools that we use to have our HR retention that we have is because we have a collaboration tool that now we sell to larger companies, which is it's kind of a tool that helps teams be able to work with each other better and understand each other and not be threatened by who knows more, who knows less, or who wants to be part of something or not. If there's been one or two people that have been let go, it's because they may not have been able to pass the exams that we do every year, and it's the way we need to keep them for retention.
Wow, that's amazing. Are you hiring?
Not at the moment. I was just being interviewed, and you were asking. We were, in previous years, we were at 865 employees, and now we're at 830. But the difference of the 35, it's on our HR division in India that we provide kind of outsourcing HR, and that's because our kind of PEO model has become smaller with everything that has happened in society. But for the moment, we're not hiring. But if ever anybody wants to be part of our company or we'll put them on a list, and when there's openings, we'll put them in our Rolodex of people that want to be part of our team.
You still have a Rolodex?
Yes, a virtual one. Everything is virtual. I was, today I'm working out of Rutgers University today. So I was at a meeting prior to this interview, and in the meeting that we're going to be doing an engagement to teach retail and restaurant companies how to franchise. I have to collaborate with other professors to teach other modules. I'm teaching the financial module and also being a business coach and financial coach for the participants, business owners who will be participating. And I said to all of them, please share with me whatever mobile or desktop apps you're using, because in my business, in the Jelima business, we use like 25 apps. And there are many apps that are the same. It's just a matter of choosing which one works for your business. So our Rolodex, it's one of our apps that we have on our CRM that we're able to identify who might be prospective employees.
Did you develop these apps?
No. There's so many. You cannot be masters of all trades.
That's right.
You find there's so many IT and very smart people who create great apps.
Yeah. How is it to manage a global company? How do you find the time? How do you organize your day, and how do you handle all that? That's a lot of people to manage.
Well, you have a senior leadership team that it's amazing, and they actually have to manage me because at our last staff meeting, everybody was saying that my emotional intelligence is too high and I'm always too emotional dealing with business. So they have to deal with me more than me dealing with them because they do an excellent job. And if you have the right talent, if you have the right passion, you adhere to best practices, ethics, knowledge, words that seem cliche, but they do make a difference.
They really do.
If you apply them to business, it helps you grow a business. Now, when people talk about what we do, what is so interesting is I started from nothing. And it's been like a sinus mathematical chart. I have ups and downs, but I think I finally found my sweet spot where I'm at a level that the team has grown to be so such an asset to the business that I'm able to choose and pick the type of jobs that I like to do myself.
Nice. What is a good client to Jalima, a loyal client, and what makes them a good or loyal client to you?
So a good client is a person who appreciates the work we do because we charge very little. So for the work we do. A good client is a client that understands for the bookkeeping services, that they understand the difference between managing your finances and understanding your financial dashboard versus a CPA just telling you what your finances are and filing for taxes. So when I meet at any networking function or people that said, oh, my CPA takes care of my business, I run away as fast as I can from that person. Personally, I may like the person and I may become a friends with that person. But business-like, I just don't try to impose in other people's thinking. So a loyal, wonderful client would be the one that understands the difference with managing by the numbers and being able to be disciplined and growing a business and trust us with their business life to manage them.
I always find that the best CFOs are the ones that interpret the data for me because I don't always know what I'm looking at. So when I think about CFO services, I'm looking for someone that can help me understand what does this data tell me? Is the data going in the right direction or is it going in the wrong direction? So.
And that is something that we do for our clients. After we make sure that all their books are organized and everything is to the standards that we believe they should be, we sit with our clients. Actually, sometimes I sit in person with them because from the cloud it's hard for them to understand, and I explain their numbers and what they mean in a story. And tell the story of their business, because sometimes people get intimidated by numbers, but when you put a dashboard that shows them with charts or pictures on how they're doing, people have a better understanding of their analytics. That's basically it. Yes, you're absolutely right. That's what's so important out of CFO services, and we do that. So we handhold our clients at the same time that we get them organized.
What makes for a good CFO or bookkeeping service? What advice would you give to an entrepreneur thinking about hiring a CFO or bookkeeping service?
There's many companies and many CFO bookkeeping companies that are fantastic. First of all, you have to do your due diligence to know that they really know what they're talking about, because there's a lot of charlatans in the industry. So you need to know the due diligence. Sometimes what I tell people when I teach my classes is ask a question that makes no sense and see how people answer that question. And if they give you an answer saying your question makes absolutely no sense, that's a good answer. But if they give you an answer that they think it's an answer, then you probably want to run out of companies like that. So knowledge, because is very important, because sometimes people just are able to give you a great talk and present extremely well, but they don't do a good job. So if a CFO or a bookkeeping company has a track record that they have helped companies grow and how they have helped them grow, that's probably finding referrals, doing the due diligence. I have a client of mine that we are doing their bookkeeping, and they're ready to sell their business, and they want to do so we're doing a business valuation for them, and their CPA said to them, "Oh, you don't need to do all that. That's a waste of money. I can, you just find 3 businesses that you are able to sell it for X and that, and with a lawyer, we'll put it in a bid portal. So I can help you with all that." And I told the clients, ask the CPA if he can give you 3 names or 1 of a company that he has done that or she has done that. And the CPA couldn't do that. So that gives you an answer of who said.
So you actually help companies organize themselves so that they can be sold.
Yep, eventually.
Yeah.
Or they can have an exit strategy. Or
so tell me about your exit strategy. Good segue. My
exit strategy, I think everybody nowadays knows about it. American culture doesn't understand my thinking because I'm very happy now with my life, and I'm not married and I don't have children. So my dream is to actually leave the company to my senior management team that has built the company in a country that there's so much poverty, that they can have a great life and sustain a great portfolio with businesses that for years now trust us and they believe in what we're doing. And that's for the Jalima Ranis portion, which is the CFO and bookkeeping portion.
We're almost out of time. I've got a couple of quick questions I want to ask you in kind of like a rapid fire format. You ready?
I'll try to do the best I can.
Who was your greatest business mentor and why?
Her name was Vesna Wozniak. She was my first boss at UNICEF, and she gave me opportunities at times when women were not being given the opportunities to excel the way, not perfectly in nowadays, but I had opportunities that no other women had before. And I'll always be in debt to her. She was from the former Yugoslavia.
And what one thing would you tell your 14-year-old self?
Always be you. Never try to be somebody else. Be more of who you are, and just take pride of who you are.
What one thing do you do every day to stay motivated?
I cannot go to bed without learning something new. And that's something that my father instilled in me. I have to learn something new every day that can be of an asset in the future in some sort of shape.
What is the defining characteristic of your brand?
So I would say that we're ethical, integrity, follow through. We're so assertive about keeping everything organized and being execute in a time and cost-effective fashion that makes us very unique.
What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote, do not leave for tomorrow, but you can do today.
Please tell my guests how they can find you.
If anybody's interested in learning about Jalima Ranis or Jalima & Associates, please go to www.jalimaandassociates.com, jalimaandassociates.com.
I want to thank Marce Zuchovicki for joining me on Biz Files, and to everyone listening or watching, thank you for joining me for this edition of Biz Files, the talk show for business owners by business owners. Don't forget to check out my website at bizfiles.tv, where you'll find information about future editions of Biz Files and resources. That's all for now. I'm Rosanne DeTorres.